Hello and welcome to today's video from the estate on Sunday the 15th of March 2026. And have you heard the language that Donald Trump's using to describe the Iranians and the leadership and the people? Hey, they're scumbags, they're evil, they're despotic, they're this, they're that, and I'm going to obliterate them and devastate them and kill them, and I'm getting enjoyment out of it, and I can't even go on saying the things that he said, not because they're any worse than that, just that it's just a tirade of abuse directed at him. And it's now being picked up by Western leaders, you know, and they're starting to use it to describe the Iranians. They sound like the trans cause, the way they're talking with pronouns, you know, they're this, they're that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that Trump's more or less 80 now, and I've seen dementia. I know how it comes about, and this is how it starts, with the verbal violence and the verbal abuse, and after that comes the physical abuse, and then after that, that's it, and there's nothing, no memory. And I think that's where Donald Trump is. He's in the verbal abuse stage of it. And the problem with his verbal abuse is that he's in charge of the country, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? And what he says goes, not because he's the strongest or the hardest or whatever you want to say. No, it's just because he's the president. So when he says I want to obliterate Iran, wow, the Air Force is quite happy to oblige him, aren't they? And they have been doing. But have you seen the difference between the way Putin is conducting his war in Ukraine to the way that Israel and the US are conducting theirs? I mean, Putin has the utmost respect for international law and the law that governs war, you know, the Geneva Convention. He's following it to the letter, whereas Donald Trump's just threw the book away. In fact, he's not even got the book. He's not got the book on any kind of law. So, just think of that when you're ready to call Putin again, because at least he's, I'm not even going to say considerate, because in war there is no, you know, you can't have a wartime leader being considerate, but he actually is. You know, if you don't think that Russia could do to the Ukraine what the US and Israel are doing to Iran, then you must be stupid, because he could absolutely obliterate it. And he doesn't even call the neo-Nazi regime running Ukraine scumbags. He just calls them the terrorists, because they are. They've committed terrorist acts on Russian soil with the help of the British, the French, the Germans and the Americans. And have you heard the uproar that's come out of politicians because Russia is helping the Iranians? Hey, wow, it's as if they've not got a clue about what's going on in the rest of the world. Well, in Ukraine. And it's like they've just woke up to the fact that Russia is helping Iran. Not just because it wants to ruin the West. No, he's helping them because they have treaties, they've signed paperwork, legitimate paperwork, not a shake hand paperwork. This is proper paperwork, and they have got treaties where they will help with defence, because that is what it is. It is defence. They're not targeting anywhere in America, are they? Or anywhere in Europe. No, they're attacking and defending themselves against the Americans that are launching attacks from bases on countries. And that's who they're attacking, the Americans. You can believe what you want, but everything you're hearing is propaganda, and all I can say is that they just sound like Goebbels. Is it Goebbels? Goebbels, Goebbels, whatever he was called, you know, the little Nazi, what was it, propaganda minister. Hey, well, they've certainly took pages out of his book. That's if they've got his book. So that's just a little bit about what I want to say. The next things are about Starmer, and you know, we're not helping America. We didn't launch any attacks on Iran. Well, in a video I done the other day, I said that we had a frigate with Donald Trump's Armada, and we have. And you can't be with America and only be defensive. And why do we have to be defensive and help our partners? You know, what are partners? Partners in what? Because there's nothing they've got apart from oil and gas. And we buy it, they don't give it us. So they're not partners. Then you look at our allies. Why are they our allies? I don't think they are. I think you might be allied with America and Israel. So if you're helping them, you're in the war. So let's just be clear on that. And also let's be clear on the fact that you didn't just know about Mandelson over the last year, you know, because of what you read. I know you knew at the earliest, well, no, I won't say the earliest, but the latest, the last of the earliest, if you know what I mean. You know, my first couple of videos I said about Starmer, knowing about Mandelson and Prince Andrew when he got the job as the DPP in 2007. So at the latest it was 2010 when he had to resign. Was it for the second time or the third time from a job in the cabinet? So just look at that. And Starmer, I think he was just a bit gutted that he can't be classed, or not, he can't be classed as the Epstein class. I think that's his only regret. And as for Mandelstein, he's Epstein's right-hand man in Europe. I know that he didn't run this on his own, even with Israel behind it, Mossad. He still couldn't run it. He would have to have other people involved, other people, you know, pulling strings for him. And that's where Mandelstein come in. There's no other reason why Epstein would be mates with Mandelstein apart from their names. Oh wait, I'm anti-Semitic. Well, another thing I'd like to say, I'd never once thought about the Jews as this or as that. You know, yeah, I've heard all the propaganda, you know, out of Germany in the 30s and 40s, but I never thought anything bad about them. I only started thinking that something's not right when they started doing what they did in Palestine. And then when you see what they did in Syria, Iraq, you know, even before the American wars in 2003, they was still at it. They were still trying to project power, you know, trying to dominate. And that's why they got America to destroy Libya, Syria, Iraq. The Gulf countries, they were under pressure from the Americans, well, under Trump, pressure from Trump, they capitulated to the Israelis. And the last, well, the cherry on their cake is Iran. And look at what they've done there. And again, just look at the difference between their war on Iran to Putin's war on Ukraine. Totally different. There's more outrage against Russia in Ukraine than there is against America and Israel in Iran. And it's mind-blowing. And like I said, his language, I've never heard such a thing. I've never heard politicians, let alone a president, not even a despotic president, not even the communist presidents. I mean, the Chinese, they don't call people, do they? You know, yeah, they're just sat back doing their own thing. They're helping out. No one said anything about China helping the Iranians. But, oh my God, Putin, why don't you just nuke Russia? Because that's what you want to do, especially Trump. You know what I mean? Hey, you know when he don't like you is when he says, oh, nice man, good friends, we're good friends. Yeah, of course you are. I bet you're on his Christmas card list, aren't you? Hey, you fucking crank. I'm sorry for the language, but he is a crank. And I have one thing about the Epstein files, one sort of like hope as to what comes out of it, is that the next lot of politicians, maybe not the next lot, but certainly the ones after that, they won't be the same kind of people that we've got now. And that's one hope I have. Anyway, let's get back. The Ukrainians are now helping out in the Gulf state, you know, and I think to myself, why? They can't do now, but they can, can't they? They can bring drones down, they can look at missiles and they fall from the sky without doing a thing. They don't even need interceptors because you've got the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians. I'll tell you what they're for. I reckon they're going to have a ship a couple of miles off the coast of Iran and they're going to get the Ukrainians on it and they're going to be operating drones from there along the coastline of the Straits of Hormuz, and then they're going to try and find where the missile launches are and where they store missiles and what have you. And I know it might sound a bit crazy, you know that. I would think that. But what else is there to think? You can't just think they're there to bring, you know, they're there just to bring drones down, because they can't bring them down, can they? Hey? How are they able to bring drones down? It beats me. Yes, they might be able to bring down the, what do they call them, the fake ones, you know, the ones that have no weapon, you know, no explosives in them. They might be able to bring them ones down, you know. Other than that, they can't. So the only other thing they can be there for is to use drones, especially first-person view drones, to spy on Iran. You have to get close, remember. It's only about 20 miles, maybe 20 kilometres reach with these first-person drones. And then they might have to be fibre optic ones at that. But if you get close enough to the shore of Iran, that's what they'll be there for, to spy. And that's it. They can't do now else. I don't know how much it would cost the Gulf states to have the Ukrainians there. I bet Zelensky pocketed a nice few quid for it. And talking about a nice few quid, look at all the top brass of Ukraine. They've all sneaked off, haven't they? Eh? One of them got out of the country in a VIP taxi. And they'll all be in Israel now. Eh? Don't ask me why I say that. I just know that that's where they'll all be. Because it's not wrong to say I think they're all Jewish. That's just what I think, you know. But yeah, they're all in Israel. And Israel won't extradite them. In fact, Europe won't even ask for them to be extradited. Europe knows what's going on in Ukraine, but as long as they're putting up a fight against Russia, Europe doesn't care. And Ursula, she gave a speech on Monday to the diplomatic corps of the EU, saying like what a golden opportunity this war is for Europe now, you know, to project how sort of what a great thing it would be to go into business with Europe, because we've got 450 million people in Europe, and we're just good business partners. But they're not. They're full of shit. Look at what they're trying to do to Russia. Take the sovereign funds that belong to the Russian people. They've froze it, and they've done it in such a way that they'll never get it back, because Ursula wants to keep it for herself. That's why she's called von der Leyen. You know what I mean? Hey, von der Leyen, eggs death. Wow, they're all cranks, aren't they? The stunning and beautiful Kaya Kallas, hey? She's an idiot. I'm not even going to say how stupid she is, but, you know, she can only say the same thing. The only thing she does is change the name of the country. Anyway, Europe wants not just NATO to defend them, they're making their own army, so they think. They need 800 billion to do it, and that's just to get the paperwork in order. After that, it's going to cost trillions. I was going to say thousands of billions, but that's trillions, isn't it? So yeah, that's what it's going to cost. And they're trying to manoeuvre it and change the law of the EU so that Hungary and Slovakia, they don't even have a say. You know what I mean? Look at Zelensky. He's just threatened Orban, not through someone else. He actually came out and said, we know where you live and where your wife lives and where your kids go to school, you know. And that might as well have been a threat to all of them in Europe, all the prime ministers and presidents. Yeah, we know where you live, we know where your wife goes shopping, we know where you fill your car up with petrol, we know where your kids play out. I mean, fuck me. If I did that to someone, that's threats to kill. That's a criminal offence in the UK, threats to kill, and yet no one said a word about it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then you've got Blackrock Mertz, the German guy. Yeah, we're not getting involved in this war with Iran. That was the other day. Then the day after, yeah, we need to. And again, everything's blamed on Iran. Oh, Iran's attacking our allies. Oh, Iran's attacking our partners. No, they're not. They're defending themselves against your allies and your partners. And you want to join in? Well, join in, because you can't get Russian gas and oil. Now you can't get Gulf gas and oil. In fact, the only people you're going to be able to buy it off is Russia and Iran. Can you imagine that? Hey, where will you put your heads then? Hey, because you certainly won't be on your neck. Anyway, what else can we talk about? Little Napoleon sending an aircraft carrier. Hey, okay, now, that's a belter, isn't it? The Americans won't even put their aircraft carriers outside Iran, and yet little Napoleon will. I wonder what will happen to that, and where that'll end up with the Iranian Navy, according to Donald Trump, which is at the bottom of the sea. I mean, did they even have a navy, Iran? Might have had a couple of 60, 70-year-old frigates. In fact, they're still using sailboats, aren't they, in Iran? According to how backwards and stupid they are. Well, that's Donald Trump's thinking on them. Thinking of things, what about Lindsey Graham? Can't tell me he's not a drunkard. For starters, he can't look at anyone talking to him. You know, his eyes are... and it's like, I'm telling Spain now. Spain, you need to... In fact, we need to change our air bases. Yeah, you're a crank, Lindsey Graham. You're nothing but a dirty, horrible warmonger. Any war, doesn't matter where it is. Even the Cambodian, Thailand war, you didn't even know what side you was on. You was just glad there was a war. Wow. He says, have you noticed? Instead of we or the president, you know what I mean? It's like he's in control, he's in charge. And being honest, he probably is, because he must spend enough time in Israel getting orders on what he has to do and what he has to say. And he said it, you know, I'm for Israel. I'm all for Israel. Not I'm all for America. I'm for Israel. Same with that Ted Cruz. Same with most of them. They're all up for Israel. And they're not prepared to say anything about this Israeli government. And why is that? Is it because of the Epstein files? Hey, you're all in them, aren't you? You fucking deviant, nasty, horrible people. Hey, you all need to be arrested. And what if you don't have a jury trial? Oh, hey, do you think the ones in the UK? Because we're full of it. You know, the United Kingdom, we're all over the Epstein files, along with all the Americans, because the Europeans, they're full of them. They're absolutely full of deviant sex cases. They was even complaining about, why is it only Europeans that are being mentioned? Well, maybe because there's more of the Europeans in it. I'm not saying that the Americans are not in it, but just that the entire Western Hemisphere's political elite are all deviant. PDFs. That's it. That's what they are. Right, so there's nothing else I can say quickly. Don't know, I think we've got through it all. Trump dementia, alcoholic Lindsey Graham. Not to mention, in the closet, alcoholic Lindsey Graham. Black Rock Mates, Lickle Napoleon, Steroid Starmore, Mandelstein. Yeah, I think that's about it. Anyway, if you can, like, subscribe, share, and leave any comments you think might be relevant, and I'll see you later on. Take care.